Hi, I am Ayal Pinkus and welcome to my latest video. In this video I wanted to try something else, which is basically showing you drawing in real time. I felt that it is more honest to show you how I'm drawing in real time, because the time-lapse videos are kind of not really honest, because you don't really see how drawing really happens. The time lapses make it look like people can draw really fast. In the past I have seen other videos from other artists where I learned a lot. So I figured maybe it is nicer if I showed you real-time drawings. The drawings you can see here, you see me inking, but underneath you can see the blue lines, and how I set them up is I first draw with a thick green color pencil and then with a thinner mechanical blue pencil, and then I ink. And the way I set them up is first I try to think of a pose or gesture, a story, the thing I want to say. That's basically the story. And then I think of the underlying volumes. I think the volumes are important because if you don't get the underlying volumes right, your eye doesn't believe it. So that's usually when I think you look at a drawing and you think it's not right, usually very often it's about the underlying volumes where your eye doesn't believe it. And another thing I look at is the shapes. The shapes I feel are the things that make a drawing beautiful. So that is why I think shapes are important. And all of these things I already solve with the thick green pencil, the larger shapes, and then I go over it with blue mechanical pencil, very thin line, and that is a rehearsal for the final ink drawing. Basically I try to make very precise, very tight drawings in the blue line, and there I can still erase things because it is pencil. It's not easy to erase. Color pencil is not as easy to erase, but you can erase it, and then I ink it, and that is what you see here. What you also see is that I draw with a thin pen. I do try to vary line thickness, and in an ideal world I would be using a pen that has varying width, and I will try that soon also on video. But I like drawing with a thin pen because I have more control there. I can work in thin and thick. What you can see here is me sculpting the lines, and I like doing it that way. So the final stage, what you see me do here with a pen, is where you add the detail and where the rendering happens. What you also see me do here is the thin line style, which is not as easy as you think, because you have the urge to also add tone or dark areas or color. You have the instinct to punch up drawings, so it's actually harder than you think to keep it in line. But I kind of prefer drawing this way. I really enjoy drawing this way, and I like the way they come out, so I try to resist punching up the drawing. I can finally also color it digitally if I want to, but I tend to not to. I like the way it looks this way. But by creating the underlying volumes and looking at the shapes, I also give myself freedom to deviate from the reference image, because these are of course based on reference image, and with that I take control of what it looks like. So it's not a perfect copy. If you go for perfect realism, you make a perfect copy, and that is actually quite hard to do. And here you can kind of deviate from the original, and that makes it easier, and it gives you an opportunity to actually say something about the thing you are drawing. I feel that it gives me freedom. It makes it more fun for me to draw this way. It is like when you draw clouds or trees. Clouds can have kind of arbitrary shapes, and trees too, which gives you more freedom to draw. No matter how you draw it, it will come out kind of right, and it will look great. You don't have to really accurately copy a tree or really accurately copy a cloud. You can kind of draw a cloud and a tree and it looks good. And with this, if you base it on underlying volumes and focus on the shapes, you can deviate from the original and make it still look good. So it gives you slightly more freedom. You don't have to get every line to within 1/10 of a millimeter correctly. Can just be a bit flexible about it. This channel is basically about getting you and me into our sketchbooks more often, and this is my attempt to help me with that. I make YouTube videos, and this way I can sort of draw in my sketchbook and make that something I can base my videos on, and hopefully I can make it something that inspires you to draw also. So what I try to do is, in my videos I also try to come up with drawing ideas, because you shouldn't just make things for social media. Social media, if you let it, it will just gobble up all your time For the longest time, in the last 2 years or so, I often ended up in a process where I kept making things just for Instagram, etc. And it is just not the thing I want to do. I want to do what you see here. That is actually what I want to do. I want to fill sketchbooks. And so I have decided that I should turn it around, and maybe that's something that all artists should do. They should be making art and then figuring out how to make posts out of it. I was recently thinking maybe we should create a social media platform where you're not punished for not publishing every day. Because ideally artists publish their work when it is finished so they can make it perfect. And with the current social media landscape, you are kind of forced to constantly publish, and because you have to publish every day, you end up actually making things for social media first. And I have decided to break with that. I'm focusing on filling my sketchbooks and seeing what I can create out of that can be a social media post. Currently, for Instagram, I'm making these posts where these are reels, where I put in prompts that have maybe a small idea for an artist, maybe an idea they can try that day. And it's inspirational. It's something, these reels I can make within a few minutes, so it doesn't take a lot of time. And I think they are useful. They're useful for me. There used to be things I did. The ideas are also derived from my newsletter. My newsletter is where I also post an exercise every week by sending it out. And I also post these on my website as an archive for my blog. And sometimes these ideas end up in my YouTube videos where I come up with an idea for a drawing exercise for artists. When I became a father, it became very hard to find time to draw, and that is actually why this channel came into being a bit. I've been looking into ways to make it easier to start drawing. And one of the big time sinks, I think, for all of us is social media. And with this, I'm trying to come up with drawing exercises for artists on social media. So I'm posting it on social media because that is exactly where we hang out when we are procrastinating. And I am hoping that I myself also sometimes look at my posts and think, oh yeah, I should be doing that. I should be trying that exercise, or that sounds like fun. I should try that again. It is all about ideas about how to make it easier, to make a satisfying, fulfilling, creative habit. I'm leaning more towards shorter posts also through my newsletter, as well as the quick posts I now make on Instagram. The idea is kind of to follow the way Seth does it on his blog. He is a person who has marketing ideas, and he has a blog where he posts a short thought every day for people to think and ponder about their own branding. And I was thinking I can make these short posts too that help people think about an idea they can ponder. And that can be in a reel on Instagram, or it can be a YouTube video, or it can be a newsletter or blog item. One thing I'm trying here is freeform voice narration, which I did not script this time. Usually I script my videos, and that takes a lot of time. And then I read my script, and it sounds very mechanical. And in this case, I'm just talking and coming up with the sentences. It's not easy because I'm not a native English speaker, but it seems to be working, so I will be trying that for a bit. It takes me less time, which means I'll have more time to draw. The idea is for me to create videos that you enjoy listening to while drawing. So that is why I'm talking really calmly. It is like when you are in a meeting. It's fun to doodle while you're listening to other people discussing things. So I think often you hear on YouTube, you hear these very high energy videos, and that works, I think, because that keeps people listening to the videos. But in this case, I think it's better if I keep this calm so that it is easier to listen to while drawing. If I started talking with a very high energy, it would distract you, I think. So like I said, I think this is about doing what I wanted to do anyway, which is drawing. And I might as well be filming myself drawing, which is interesting because it's not as easy as I thought, because I have a rig set up and there's a camera. So that means I have to draw with my arm slightly away from my body. And I'm used to drawing much closer to my body. So I'm having to relearn to draw accurately with my hand a bit farther away from my body. But it is working. I think this is working fine. So I think the trick is to draw what you want to draw anyway, unless you have a customer who pays really well. But otherwise, I don't think it's actually worth not drawing what you want to draw. If no one is paying you, why don't you just draw what you want to draw anyway? Why not create your own thing? I never get why artists want to work for the large publishers and draw Spider-Man and Batman. If they can create their own characters, you can create your own characters, you can create your own images. These publishers don't pay you enough. It gives you a lot more freedom if you're just doing it for yourself. It doesn't even, the drawings actually don't even have to be that good. I mean, what is your definition of good? In my case, I enjoy the process of drawing, and maybe that is my definition of good. I mean, if you compare it to how stories are told in Hollywood, if you want to tell a story, you have to be able to keep an audience captive for, 2 hours, because that is how long you want them to sit through a movie. And that means you have to have considerable craft to be able to keep them watching. Whereas if you and I were sitting in a bar, we would tell each other stories. I'm telling you stories right now about people in Hollywood. If you and I tell each other a story, we quickly do it in 1 minute, and that is fine. We are constantly telling each other stories, and in this form it is good enough for the purpose. And maybe if I just fill sketchbooks, that is all it has to be, It doesn't have to be better, it doesn't have to be more than this. It doesn't have to be suitable for anything other than my enjoyment, and it doesn't have to be more than that. Do our sketches have to be very good, or do they just have to be fun to draw? I mean, I like how my drawings come out. I enjoy watching and looking at them. I think they're great. And also, do artists have to be good to be commercially successful? There are many examples of artists who just became successful even if they didn't draw that well. So even there, I will not give examples, of course, I will not name names, but you've probably seen artists where you thought, well, they don't draw well, but they were commercially successful anyway. So I think we should draw for our enjoyment. So for this video, maybe as a drawing exercise, have fun in your sketchbook today. Try to find the enjoyment of just having the activity, listening to a podcast while doodling, having fun with it. Okay, thank you for drawing.